Have you ever had a moment where you felt a faint whisper of dread? A tiny, chilling signal that something was terribly wrong, but you brushed it aside. We all do it. We tell ourselves we're being paranoid, that we're overreacting. But what if that one time you weren't? What if ignoring that feeling led you down a path into your worst nightmare? The story you're about to hear is a harrowing journey into that exact moment, a descent into darkness that began at a desolate, flickering gas station in the middle of the night. But stick with me until the very end, because the most unexpected twist isn't what happened in that terrifying room, but what happened in the mind of the man who was left to guard her. It's a detail that changes everything. Before we descend into the heart of this story, do me a favor, look around you. Where are you right now? What time is it? Drop it in the comments below. I'm always fascinated to see where in the world our channel reaches, and what time of day or night you're rejoining us. It connects us all in a way. Okay, take a deep breath. Let's begin. The world felt fractured and raw when I was 23. My relationship, the one I thought was my forever, had shattered, and with it, my sense of home, so I decided to run. Not from him, but toward a new version of myself. Houston, Texas, was the destination, a sprawling, anonymous city where I could dissolve and reform, a place where no one knew. The girl with the broken heart. I was chasing a new beginning, a clean slate. The journey was a blur of asphalt and regret. Fueled by cheap coffee and a playlist of sad songs, it was around 3 in the morning, that strange, silent hour when the world seems to hold its breath, that the fuel gauge in my car began to flash, its insistent warning. I was navigating through a forgotten pocket of Texas, a small town that seemed to exist only as a name on a map. The highway was a lonely ribbon of darkness, and the solitude that had earlier felt like freedom was slowly beginning to curdle into a quiet unease. Then I saw it, the familiar welcome glow of a gas station sign, a beacon of light in the oppressive blackness. It was one of those old, slightly dilapidated places, but it was open. A profound sense of relief washed over me. The place was utterly deserted, a ghost station, under the hum of fluorescent lights that cast long, eerie shadows. As I filled my tank, I pulled out my phone, seeking the small comfort of a familiar screen, a distraction from the unnerving silence. That's when I noticed it. A hulking, beat-up pickup truck had pulled in on the opposite side of the pumps. It rumbled to a stop, its engine cutting out with a tired caw, plunging the station back into a near-perfect quiet. I didn't give it much thought. My attention focused on the digital world in my hand. But a moment later, as I finished pumping and went to put my phone away, a flicker of movement caught my eye. A man was standing by the truck, not pumping gas, not going inside, just watching me. His gaze was fixed, unwavering and intensely focused. It wasn't a casual glance. It was a stare that felt heavy, like an object pressing against my skin. On my first instinct, the one condition, by a lifetime of being told to be polite, was to smile, a small, tight, dismissive smile. I turned my back to him, busy myself with screwing the gas cap back on, my heart suddenly beating a little faster. It was probably nothing. I was just tired and on edge. But as I turned back towards my car door, I saw that another man had gotten out of the truck, and then a third. They weren't talking. They were just positioned. It was subtle, but there was an unnerving intentionality to their stances. A silent communication passing between them. The air grew thick with a palpable sense of threat. That quiet unease I'd felt earlier had now blossomed in a full-blown alarm. The voice in my head screamed, get in the car, and drive down now." My hand reached for the door handle, my fingers trembling slightly. I was just inches from safety, from the lock in the engine, and the escape of the open road. But I wasn't fast enough in a horrifying, sorry. Any blur of motion, they were on me. The attack was swift, brutal, and silent. There was no warning, no shout of demand. Just a sudden, shocking impact of bodies against mine. I screamed, a raw, primal sound torn from my lungs. But it felt swallowed by the vast, empty night. I kicked, I thrashed. I fought with every ounce of strength I possessed, my nails digging into flesh, my legs flailing, but it was a desperate fuel struggle. I was one person, and they were a wall of overwhelming force. I wasn't strong enough. I was never going to be strong enough. Two of them grabbed my arms and legs, their grips like iron vices, lifting me off the ground as if I weighed nothing. They hauled me toward their truck, my feet scraping uselessly against the grimy concrete. The third one, who I later learned, was named Tool, yanked open the rear door and shoved me inside. I landed in a heap on the back seat, the rough fabric scratching my skin. Before I could even try to reorient myself, two of them piled in after me, their bodies pinning me down. Their weight was suffocating, a crushing pressure that stole my breath and my hope. I was trapped beneath them, my face pressed into the stain of upholstery, the foul smell of stale beer, sweat and unwashed bodies filling my nostrils. I kept struggling, a desperate, animalistic instinct to survive, but it was like fighting against a landslide. Their combined mass held me immobile. The fight began to drain out of me, replaced by a wave of cold, terrifying despair. The tears started, then hot and silent at first, then turning into racking sobs of pure, undiluted terror. I have never in my entire life felt so profoundly weak, so utterly and completely powerless. A horrifying clarity pierced through my panic. If this was it, if they were going to kill me, I would not go silently. I started clawing at the man, pinning my upper body not to hurt him, but with a single grim purpose. I dug my nails as deep as I could into his arm, trying to get his skin, his DNA, under my fingernails. It was the final act, a message for whoever might find me later. They drove me to a rundown motel, the kind with peeling paint, and a flickering neon sign that promised vacancies, and despair in equal measure. They dragged me from the truck and half carried, half forced, me into one of the rooms on the ground floor. The moment the door clicked shut behind us, the reality of my situation crashed down on me. With the force of a physical blow, the room was squalid. It reeked of stale cigarette smoke, old beer and something else, something vaguely metallic and sour. Empty beer cans and fast food bags littered every surface. It was clear this wasn't their first night here. This was a lair. I started screaming again, pleading, begging them to let me go. The oldest-looking one, a man with cold, dead eye, strolled over and backhanded me across the face. The blow was sharp and stunning, my head snapping to the side. "Shut up," he snarled, his voice a low, gravely threat. Another one trying to sound reasonable, in the most unreasonable situation imaginable. "Chimed in, if you're good." He said his words a venomous parody of comfort. "We won't hurt you." They threw me onto one of the two beds, the mattress groaning under my weight. They held me down while they bound my hands and feet. They used a leather belt for my ankle and a thin, coarse cord that felt like a shoelace from my wrist, pulling it so tight it bit painfully into my skin. Panic, raw and overwhelming, seized me. I was still crying. My please now, just a garbled mess of words. "Please just let me go." I sobbed. "I won't tell anyone. I won't say anything, I promise." Then a strange thing happened. They started speaking to each other, but it wasn't in English. It was a language I couldn't recognize. Guttural and harsh, it made them seem even more alien, more dangerous. My mind raced, trying to process, to find a way out. But all I could see was the filth of the room and the faces of my captor. I didn't want to know what they had planned for me. I didn't want to think about what horrors awaited me in that disgusting room. At some point, in the middle of their strange farming conversation, one of them announced they needed more beer. It was a moment of mundane absurdity, in the midst of a nightmare. They debated for a minute, and then a decision was made. The four older ones would go. The youngest one, a man who looked to be around my age, maybe even younger, would stay behind to guard me. As the door closed behind the other four, a profound silence fell over the room, broken only by my ragged breathing and the distant hum of the motel's ice machine. It was just him and me. My fear was still a living thing inside me, but a new thought, sharp and clear, cut through the fog of terror. He's alone, he's young. Maybe, just maybe, I can fight him if I could just get free. It would be 1 against 1. I took a shaky breath, trying to make my voice sound as small and non-threatening as possible. "Please," I whispered, looking at him. Can I please use the bathroom?" He hesitated, looking from me to the door and back again. For a long, terrifying moment, I thought he would say no. But then, with a sigh of what seemed like annoyance, he moved towards the bed and began to untie the cord around my wrist. The second my hands were free, adrenaline surged through me like a bolt of lightning. I didn't wait for him to untie my feet. I exploded off the bed in a single desperate movement. I didn't run for the bathroom. I ran for the main door. I lunged, my fingers fumbling with the lock. the chain, I threw the door open, revealing the cool, dark promise of the outside world. He was right behind me. He grabbed my arm. His grip strong. No. I screamed a sound of pure defiance. Get off me, I twisted, pulling with all my might. And then something incredible happened. He let go. His eyes were wide with what looked like shock, or maybe even fear. I didn't question it. I didn't look back. I ran. I ran out into the motel parking lot, my bare feet slapping against the cold, rough asphalt. I ran down the street, a naked, frantic specter in the pre-dawn gloom. I saw headlights approaching, and without a second thought, I leaped out in front of the car, waving my arms wildly. The car screeched to a halt just feet from me. An old man was behind the wheel, his face a mask of confusion and irritation. He rolled down his window. What in the hell are you doing? He yelled as if I were just some punk kid who had ruined his morning commute. The sheer normality of his anger was jarring. I need help, I cried, my voice cracking. I've been kidnapped. Please, you have to help me. He took me to the police station. They wrapped me in surgical scrubs, and the slow, painful process of recounting the horror began. They took my statement, and then they told me I needed to go to the hospital. They needed to do an exam to collect evidence that the men might have left behind. All I wanted in that moment was a shower. I wanted to scrub the feeling of their hands and the smell of that room off my skin forever. I wanted to go home more than anything in the world. I just wanted to talk to my mom. They found them. The police located them that very same day, back at that same squalid motel. It turned out they were all brothers. When they were questioned, they never said what exactly they had planned to do with me. They just claimed they were blackout drunk and didn't know what they were doing. A pathetic, cowardly excuse for an act of pure evil. I never made it to Houston. I couldn't. Instead, I moved to the complete opposite side of the country, putting as many miles as I could between me. And that night, I know logically that they are still in prison. I know they are locked away. But logic has no power over trauma. I still have nightmares, vivid and terrifying, of that room, of their faces. I don't use my phone in public anymore. I'm constantly scanning my surroundings, hyper-aware of everyone and everything. My current boyfriend, who I love, says I'm too paranoid, that I need to let it go, but he wasn't there. He doesn't understand that the world I live in now is different from the one he sees. I have to be this way because I made a vow to myself. In the aftermath of that horror, I will never ever feel that weak again in my life. Her story is a stark and brutal reminder that the world can change in an instant, that the membrane between safety and peril is terrifyingly thin. It's a testament to the strength of the human spirit, but also a warning that we must always listen to that quiet voice of unease. If you believe in the power of sharing these stories and raising awareness, and in creating a community that looks out for one another, make sure you subscribe to our channel and turn on the notifications. You are not alone here.